Good morning and good day. Welcome to the Insider Zambia. My name is Nabonga Mulenga, and we are here joined by Dr. Elias Munshya, the Republic of Zambia's High Commissioner to the Republic of Angola. Welcome, sir.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Dr. Munshya is a career academic turned diplomat with a strong background in political science, governance, democracy, and constitutional affairs. He has vast knowledge on political theology. He has a Master of Laws, Master of Business, and to the basis, a theology degree, which I would like to believe he holds dear and near. We will be diving into his endeavors throughout the world, his outlook on the now passed Bill 7, and a lot more of exciting conversation to be had. Welcome again, Doctor.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Nabonga.
I think before we even jump into the nitty-gritty of this conversation, because I think to the goal of this interview, we do definitely want to know where Bill 7 stands for you, because there has been a lot of debate back and forth. And now that the bill's gone through, a lot of people are definitely on edge, waiting to really understand what the repercussions of this bill, what the changes that have come from it as well. But before we even get into that, maybe we should start talking about yourself. Who is Dr. Elias?
I think, thank you very much for having me on the Insider Zambia podcast. Elias Munshya, I was born in Chingola and I grew up in Chingola. So I spent much of my formative years in Chiwempala. And then I completed high school at Chingola Secondary School many years ago. Unbelievable. 1996. So that's when I completed my high school at Chingola Secondary School. And so I am deeply a boy from Chiwempala. And that's what I've always been. My parents, though, they came from Milenge. That's where they grew up for the most part. And so they left Milenge many years ago. And so for myself, I still maintain links with our ancestral homeland in Milenge. Both my mother and my father are Ushis. So from Chief Sokon to his chiefdom in Milenge district.
Fantastic. Dr. Munshya, you've transitioned from academia into diplomacy. May you just give us a brief intro on that transition, especially with the number of accreditations you've just even given us in the background now?
Right, thank you. So I think life is quite interesting, and then we take advantage of opportunities as they come, open doors as they come. And so I try to look at myself as not only one thing, but rather everything. I am what I am, and all these aspects of being a theologian, an academic in that sense, and a constitutional lawyer, and being a preacher, and now transitioning from active practice of law in Canada, and then transitioned to become High Commissioner in Australia and New Zealand, and ambassador to the Pacific Island nations. The role that I think I served very well in for the past 3.5 years. And then in October 2025, I got transferred to Angola to become ambassador of Zambia to Angola. And so for me, the transition has been that of service. Regardless of where I was at, I think it has been directed towards service. And the fact that you are serving in a different role does not negate other services. So it's been service. I think service has been the constant one. Service as a young preacher at a Pentecostal church here in Lusaka, and then service as a theologian, helping a better understanding of our world and a better interpretation of scriptures. Service as clinical counselor, which I haven't really practiced much, but I started it. But I haven't practiced in that area for long. And then becoming a lawyer, and then even when I was called to the bar in Alberta in Canada, I still maintained links with Zambia and commented quite considerably on Zambian constitutional development, the rule of law, and several other issues for decades now.
All right. Now, as Zambia's High Commissioner to Angola, what are the key priorities of your mission?
Thank you. So for us for me as ambassador to Angola, I want to understand it this way. I am coming into Angola basically standing on the shoulder of giants, recognizing that there are several ambassadors before me who served in that beautiful, beautiful country. But they served at a very different time, sometimes at a very difficult time. Remember, Angola, for much of its independence, it spent several years, if not decades, in war, in a civil war that devastated the people. And so some of my predecessors served during that very difficult time in Luanda and in Luena. And so for me, I am standing on their shoulders. Our priorities, of course, and our interests have changed over the years as Angola and Zambia. So we have shifted from this predominantly security, defense consciousness as the primary defining outlook or posture for our two countries, to cultural diplomacy and economic diplomacy, so that we can have better trade between our two countries, enhance people-to-people connections, because Angola and Zambia already share a 1,200 kilometers border, a very long border, and share the same people, basically. The Lundas, the Luvales, the Chokres, the Mbundas, and the Lozis, and much more.
Your Excellency, Angola is one of Africa's leading oil producers. In recent months, obviously, we've seen the launch of the Lobito corridor, which has been very exciting to any business, frenzy, organization, person. What, with your role currently being served as High Commissioner here in Angola, would you say we can do to deepen our cooperation between the two countries when it comes to what it is we can trade?
Yes, indeed. So the Lobito corridor is built around, of course, the port of Lobito. And the understanding is that we need to open up the interior of Africa, the interior, and Zambia must have an access to the sea, to the Atlantic Ocean. And on the Angolan part, there has been a rail line already for many years, of course. It was affected by the war, definitely. But there has been a line, a rail line, which is going to be rehabilitated as part of the Lobito project. On the Zambian side, we are looking at building a fresh new rail line, starting off from the Copper Belt around the Chingola area into the northwestern province and then out through Mwinilunga, Ikelenge, rather, into Angola. And the Democratic Republic of Congo is also building a corridor, is also building a phase of the corridor starting from the Congolese Copper Belt around Haut Katanga, as well as Lomani provinces, and then off into Angola. And so the Lobito corridor is a joint exercise of great diplomacy between Zambia, Angola, and the Democratic Congo.
How can we strategically benefit from the oil and the energy sector as Zambians?
Yes, indeed. So Angola produces an excess of electricity at the moment. And this speaks to the lack of infrastructure. And so in order for us to begin sharing here in Southern Africa, sharing the natural resources that we have and the value that we have placed on these, be it energy, copper, or oil, we must look at infrastructure. And that's what the Lobito corridor is trying to answer. Specifically now, when it comes to energy, we are looking at building an interconnector between Angola and Zambia, an electricity interconnector. Because what has been happening is that Southern Africa does not suffer from an energy deficit. It suffers from a transmission deficit, meaning that all of our countries put together, when we look at the energy that we have, it could in fact help all of us here in Southern Africa, the Southern African energy pool. But the issue is the distribution. Right now, Angola has excess electricity. We hope that once that interconnector is built, we're going to have enough electricity to go around the region.
Can we even say possibly load shedding could be lightened? Is this something that we can look into the future for?
In fact, that's exactly the point. And our leaders, be it President Hakainde Hichilema here in Zambia and his counterpart, President Lorenzo in Angola, all the regional presidents, they agree to say that our region must cooperate. But the cooperation should go beyond just people to people and political cooperation. It must now trickle down to infrastructure development. And that's why that electricity interconnector, power interconnector between Angola and Zambia become critical. That issue aside, the Lobito corridor also then will make it very easy for us to be able to transport goods and services, in fact, from Zambia into Angola and off to the new markets in Brazil and Europe and the Americas. And so that is the reason why we need to invest in this infrastructure, in this corridor, so that it provides us with a mechanism for us to transport the goods that we'll be producing, that Zambia will be producing, that Angola will be producing, and the Democratic Republic of Congo. So that as Africa, in fact, as Zambia, being a land-linked country, we will have several corridors through which we can export our services and several corridors through which we can import goods and services.
Okay, so are there any ongoing or potential discussions around fuel supply agreements or refinery partnerships between Zambia and Angola that could help reduce Zambia's fuel costs?
Yes, indeed. Those discussions, some of them are still ongoing. So again, it boils down to infrastructure. You may wish to know that Angola, even if Angola is a net producer of oil, it's Africa's second largest producer after Nigeria. Much of the gas, much of the oil, that is much of the petrol and diesel that are consumed inside Angola are imported, much of it imported. And so we need to advance together, we need to grow together so that we have the infrastructure necessary for us to be able to add value to the resources that Africa has, to the resources that Angola has. And through that, once we are able to do and run those refineries, it will be very easy, we believe, for Angola then to share those finished products with its neighbors and with its region. And yes, once that is done, definitely it is going to be far much more affordable.
Okay.
Yes.
So now looking beyond oil, what opportunities exist for collaboration in renewable energy infrastructure, like you've mentioned, and regional energy integration between the two countries?
Yes, indeed. Like I mentioned, Tokozile, a few minutes ago, the strategy is pretty regional. And it begins from commitments of our heads of state, the President Tshisekedi, His Excellency President Hakainde Hichilema, and President Lorenzo in Angola. It's a regional strategy to see that we are able to share as one region the resources that we have. And so this cooperation, first of all, there is the cooperation at political level. Then there is the cooperation at economic and trade level, so that we open up our markets to each other. The ability to be able to manufacture soap here and take that soap across the borders so that we can buy and sell amongst ourselves. And so infrastructure has been the biggest issue. And that's why these leaders, these governments are actually putting in the best efforts to ensure that we work on infrastructure. Right now, Angola is a country of about 35 million people. The country itself is almost twice the size of Zambia. And we ourselves here in Zambia, we're about 20 million people. And once we add the Democratic Republic of Congo and Namibia and Botswana and Zimbabwe, we are quite a sizable market. And the barriers to this market has sometimes been lack of infrastructure. That's why the Lobito project itself, the Lobito corridor itself, is trying to answer to that need. Not only that, but there are several other corridors as well. That's why the New Dawn government has prioritized this. Because no matter how much you are manufacturing, if you can't send it to the markets, then you can't reap any benefits for the ordinary Zambians. This is true for Zambia, it's true for Angola, it's true for the Democratic Republic of Congo, and it's true for the region. And that's why we are prioritizing transport and infrastructure.
Beyond diplomacy, you're also known for your deep engagement with governance, constitutional matters back home. How important is diplomacy in strengthening democracy, peace, and development in the SADC region at large?
Indeed, diplomacy, in its simplest form, it's that people should be able to sit down and talk to each other. It must open up channels for communication. The ability of us to be able to talk. And I think if this region is going to actualize its dream of economic growth and economic independence, then we must intensify efforts of communicating and talking to one another. And that's exactly what regional diplomacy is. For example, if you need to buy and sell across borders, we need to be able to talk to each other and say, how can we help simplify the systems so that cross-border traders could very easily trade from among themselves? Diplomacy is one of the channels that could be used in order to communicate that effectively. And so a lot of diplomacy has already been going on here in our region, and we hope to intensify those efforts at diplomacy and transform from our discussion into tangible action points. And again, in order for us to really act and reduce our words into action, we need that diplomacy.
Okay, so now what assurances can you give Zambians that energy cooperation with Angola will translate into real benefits for the ordinary citizen?
Well, It is because when you look at the energy that this region has the potential to produce enough energy for our homes, to light up the lights in our homes so that we are able to cook, we are able to see each other at night, so that we have enough energy to power our industries, our mines, our manufacturing plants, our welding machines at Charleston Market or at Kalundu Market or at Olympia Market, so that we are able to have that. And this energy is there, but once we have that electricity interconnector, we will be able to share this energy amongst us in the region. And so Angola is looking for a market to export its energy. Here in Zambia, due to the drought, we ran into serious deficits of energy. And Angola cannot export at the moment to us because we have no connection, no Bluetooth connection. No, of course, electricity has got to go beyond Bluetooth. Electricity has got to be a wire connection. We have no wire connection to share this energy. And so if we had that wire connection, for example, Zambia would not have experienced this deficit here because we would have bought that electricity from our brothers and sisters in Angola, the electricity that they already have in abundance. And so, yes, once this infrastructure is worked on, we should be able to share this energy amongst ourselves. And Zambia also, in the past, when we had excess production, we've been able to export to our neighbors and export at a premium. In other words, energy has become a business. And our partners, our friends in the region have been able to pay the premium for it, the market price for it, and add a little premium. And so, yes, infrastructure is the answer to this.
Okay, so let's move now to Bill 7, which is now law. What was the government seeking to achieve through it?
President Hakainde Hichilema outlined the vision for what we wanted to see in Zambia. The New Dawn administration wanted to see a Zambia where you have fairer representation. I think that is what motivated him. And when you look at his own life, you will see, first of all, where he is spending his money. You can know somebody's priorities by where they are spending their money. If they are in government, you can know their priorities again by where they are spending their money. Where has the Zambian taxpayers' money actually gone in Zambia in the past 4 years? Number one, it has gone to free education. And the president has explained exactly why he is so passionate about free education, because he sees himself as a young child born and bred in Wengwa who grew up, went to rural schools, and education made a difference for him. He came to the University of Zambia, studied, and qualified qualified very well. What do you call it? Do you call it high colors or
Flying colors?
Flying colors, exactly. And then he went to the UK on a scholarship and studied more. So he sees every child around our country. He sees himself in those little children in our rural areas. He believes very passionately that if we are going to make a difference, then we have got to translate what happened to him to that little child in Milenge, that little child among Tumbukas. I can't even figure out where that is. But among Tumbukas, among Chewas, among Sengas, and all the people, particularly of Eastern Province. But in addition to the people of Eastern Province, it's the people across the entire country. He sees himself and he wants to help those children. And so that's why he spent the money to ensure that these children are able to go to school without having to pay a single ngwe in order to have this education. Secondly, he looked at the fact that we need rural infrastructure. We need infrastructure that is, we are still a developing country, quite all right, but we must bridge the gap between urban areas and rural areas. And that's why he invested money in constituency development funds in order to go and build some infrastructure across Zambia, not only in urban areas where it is so good to live, but also in rural areas where it might be a little bit of a challenge to live. He sent money to rural areas. When he says that it's one Zambia, one nation, the president pretty much means that it's one Zambia and one nation for the whole Zambia, not just for some parts of Zambia. So he put money there in raising infrastructure. And so there are desks that have been manufactured for rural areas and urban areas. Then there are school blocks where there were thatched schools and children were meeting under trees, and where there was no infrastructure, money has been directed towards that. And so that is the part of what he has done. Now, in order for his vision to catch up with the infrastructure and the money that he is spending, it's very necessary for us to reorganize our political infrastructure. Because no matter how much you reorganize the physical infrastructure, if it does not correspond with political infrastructure, you're going to have a very big problem. And that's why he looks at it and he realizes that politically, we have been running a serious deficit. Because if your goal is to try and balance up rural and urban development, and then you realize that rural areas, as an example, rural constituencies are so vast that if you were to put a clinic in one little corner of Milenge, as an example, you still have so many people that are underserved due to the sheer size of some of these constituencies. That's where was born the passion to try and narrow that gap, create more constituencies, particularly in those areas which have been underserved. If you built a clinic, for example, in Kabwata constituency, it would be very easy to serve a lot of people in Kabwata. But if you built just one clinic in Milenge, it's just going to serve very few people because of the geographic distance.
Dr. Elias, I think obviously the delimitation of the constituencies is something that a lot of Zambians, like myself, like my colleague, we're happy about it. It's good news because, as you've said, some of these constituencies are vast and large and wide.
That's good to know.
Yeah, no, I'm speaking on behalf of the people. The insider is for the people.
Welcome to politics.
Welcome to in our preamble, you did mention, and I had a question from you from the beginning, because when you said you did political theology, you basically church and state matters, as you mentioned. And Bill 7 is now law. You know, there's no debate, no conversation that we will have that will change what has been said upon. But I think maybe Zambians might just need a little bit of reassurance because, you know, to an extent, we might have not understood a little bit here and there. At the beginning of the discussions of Bill 7, there was a lot of speculation about the church having heavy um, discernments, or um, they weren't allied with some of the sentiments that were in Bill 7, the Catholic Church especially, to be frank. In matters like that, as a specialist yourself, and you've extensively written on national issues pertaining to our governance here, during that debacle, do you think it was handled correctly? The negotiations or the conversations that were had? Because I think even during the passing of Bill 7, the
Right.
church did come out to say, they weren't involved in this decision. And now, between church and state matters, how do we know, or how do you know as politicians or as governance, where that line is to say the church has a say, but only this far? And if so, if another matter was to come arise from this, how would we handle it?
Thank you. Thank you very much. As you have rightly pointed out, Zambia is a democracy.
Yes.
And Zambia being a democracy means we've got to live with the uncomfortable idea of sometimes disagreeing with one another.
Yes.
And so disagreements are part and parcel of our democracy. And we are a very free people as Zambians, very proud. That's why we sing in the national anthem, proud
And free.
and free. That's exactly who we are. And so for important debates such as a change in a constitution, we are going to disagree. We're going to have different perspectives. But it is the institutions of our democracy that are going to hold us all together. And in the case of Bill 7, that's exactly what happened. There was an elected government, an elected cabinet that came up with the roadmap and say, this is what we needed to work on. It went to court, and the court said you needed to retreat and look at this particular aspect. This government followed everything that the court had directed, instituted the Mushabati Committee, went across the country, received submissions from the country that informed Bill number 7. Were there disagreements? Of course there were. I'll be very surprised if a constitutional amendment can never be passed without disagreements. And then Parliament did its job. 131 members of our own Parliament that we elected in 2021, 131 of them voted at second reading. When, after a few changes were added to Bill number 7, the changes, in fact, that were dictated by the Mushabati Committee and the people of Zambia, 135 MPs at third reading voted for Bill number 7. Bill number 7 is law, not because anyone in this nation just liked it or decided so. Bill number 7 became law because the institutions of this country, all of them, and there is clear consensus in that regard. And our members of parliament, 135 of them out of 160 probably, they voted in favor of Bill number 7.
Yes.
It is now law. And our appeal is to all those that disagreed. We are one country. This is a new law. Let us work together and let us continue loving each other. Strong and free.
And free. Now, how may this law affect future elections, particularly in terms of representation and electoral administration?
First of all, just like every election, we are a young democracy, but we are also quite a vibrant democracy. And we spend our time and our money and our mouths, because we talk a lot. We are a talking nation. That is what makes Zambia, Zambia. And I hope we continue
The dialogue.
Dialogue. So Bill number 7, which has now become part of our constitutional law, means then that there will be constituencies, the big constituencies that are going to be split, or that are going to be created out of different considerations as the law dictates. Anyway, we are going to have constituency-based seats. But more than that, we are also going to have 20 seats for women through proportional representation. Amazing step.
Can I just get some clarity on that, Dr. Elias? The 20 seats for women, is it limited to 20 or is it 20 confirmed? And if more, they can partake?
Oh, yes. So women are free to participate. Women and men are free, and
Of
youth are
course.
free to participate for the constituency-based seats.
Yes.
And the president also has the prerogative to nominate, 11 seats?
Yes.
So of course, it will either be a woman, a man, or a youth, or
Yes.
So those are still there. But these are guaranteed seats on the basis of proportional representation. So
Yes.
20 seats for women, 15 seats for youth, and by youth, does not and I can't claim to be a youth.
Are you not a senior youth?
You see, because in Demokote, Kwebakote, Tatufurokulanda Turiva because you hosted Umukote here,
Yes.
and who said Mwaiche? No, Fuebakote, we have enough seats. These 15 seats.
Dr. Elias.
These 15 seats are for the youth that is below the age of 34. Because after you turn 35, those 15 seats are not yours. And then, of course, are you going to edit that out?
No.
Huh?
No.
So then the 5 seats are for the differently abled people, our people. So there are about 40 seats that are directed at the marginalized in our society, or people that we believe should have a seat at the table. That is what makes this new law so powerful.
Okay, so having a law background, Lars opposed the bill, calling it unconstitutional. What is your take?
My take is the Law Association of Zambia is such an important law association in our country. It brings together members of our learned profession, lawyers, and it is not within their mandate to declare anything constitutional or unconstitutional. In other words, tafibaloleshe as Lars, they can't be able to say that this particular bill is unconstitutional because they neither make the law nor do they judge the law. They don't. They're not lawmakers. It's the Law Association of Zambia in the sense that it is a very important institution that regulates our legal profession. But they do not make laws for Zambia. And if any person in the Law Association of Zambia indeed wants to become a lawmaker, then they've got to go and stand Pachulu and promise what they are going to do and get elected. If they have no courage to stand and Pachulu to promise people what they are going to do in constituencies, they can try to convince a political party. If they are a woman, then they can, in fact, aspire for one of the 20 seats. Or if they are youth, indeed, and by youth we mean exactly that. If they are that age, then they can aspire for the 15 seats, or if they are differently abled, for those 5 seats. So the Law Association of Zambia indeed does have its own legal mandate, and we greatly respect that. But unfortunately, they cannot declare any of our parts of our constitution unconstitutional.
So their take is not needed at all. Is that what you're saying?
Of course it's needed. It's definitely needed, and that is the robust democracy that this country has. You know, if people from Milenge and Wengwa and Mitete and Lukulu Nakuchipata, they are there and their voices are being heard. What about the Law Association of Zambia? Its voice must be heard. And they, from 1973, from the genesis of the Law Association of Zambia Act, LAS has been very vocal, and that is appreciated and accepted, and that's very important. But if they want to become lawmakers, then they must go and stand Pachulu and aspire to be members of parliament. Otherwise, there is no LAS seat in parliament at the moment. Maybe we need another constitutional change so that nabo bene bakengiremo mu parliament pakuba bakatambe okupanga amafunde. But no, we believe they are very valuable, great group of people, but they can't say that.
Well, Dr. Elias, just to even close up on this Bill 7 talk, because like we've mentioned, this is law now. No matter, there's no amount of conversation we can have that will change it. We've had questions submitted of the similarities between the Bill 10 that was, brought in by the now opposition,
right,
and the similarities of the Bill 7 currently.
Right.
And there are similarities. In opposition, it was a non-starter, not a conversation to even be had.
Right.
But currently in power, we see those similarities come through and have justifiable reasons for them. What would you say to those individuals that are basically saying, different number, same cloth, when it comes down to the bills that have been put through?
Nabonga, I'll tell them it's not true. Bill 7 and Bill 10 are not similar. Absolutely none. As a matter of fact, there is nothing in Bill 7 that is similar to Bill 10. Here is the thing. Of course. No. And that's the mistake, because I extensively dealt with Bill 10 in my previous life. Bill 10 was not a delimitation bill at all. In fact, Bill 10 did not even state how many MPs Zambia was going to have. Bill 10 went into the structure of our constitution and completely obliterated the very edifices of our democracy. What Bill 10 said was, instead of the constitution telling us the composition of parliament, we are going to remove it from the constitution, and we are going to replace that with statute. That's what Bill 10 did. What Bill 7 has done is that it still goes back to the constitution and says that this is the number of members of parliament. There will be 226 constituents-based seats, 40 for the previously marginalized groups, and 11, up to 11 nominated members of parliament. It is clear in the constitution. Bill 10 said, we are going to repeal all that, completely take it out of the constitution, and we shall be deciding on statute basis what parliament is going to be. That's why everybody in Zambia rejected Bill 10, including members of parliament. They said no.
Including you too?
Of course. We all said no. It was a very dangerous piece of legislation. And I'm very glad that Bill 10 did not pass. Now, to be honest, now, if we brought back the provisions of Bill 10, guess what? None of the Patriotic Front members themselves would, in fact, have voted for it now. Because they knew exactly what Bill 10 was all about.
It was an animal. So
So it's very destructive to say, in fact, to have any comparisons between Bill 10 and Bill 7. And that's why 135 members of our parliament have sided with Bill 7.
Okay.
And that's one thing. They were saying that Bill 10 has this and that and that and that. I got Bill 10 and I looked at it. I read it every day while I practiced in Canada. And I was explaining it muchaushi every day. And we were reading line by line. And I kept telling the justice minister then, Vagiven Lubinda, Njebere, you cannot create a constitution on the basis of what you have in your head. A constitution must be written down. Bill 10 cannot be changing according to what you think in your head, because a constitution is a written document. If you are saying that Bill 10 is about the limitation, why haven't you said so in Bill 10? It wasn't there. If it were about women, if it were about the youth, it wasn't there. As a matter of fact, in Bill 10, and I know that we are trying to really to get the past, but if you went to Bill 10, there was in fact no word mentioning a youth. Nothing was mentioning women. Nothing was mentioning the limitation. Nothing was mentioning any of these things. They just said we would remove everything and then we will relegate it to statute.
But doesn't Bill 7 give the president power to bring in MPs? Bill 10 was criticized for something similar. What's your take on that?
No. The president currently, before assent of Bill 7, the president could appoint about 8 MPs. Under Bill 7, because of the expansion of the chamber, he is now going to be appointing 11. The idea that he's going to be appointing more than these people is not just true. People will be voted for from their constituencies, and then the 40 are going to come from women, youth, and the differently bodied citizens. And that's it.
You said you would sue Harry Kalava. How is that unfolding?
You see, that is why social media is such a blessing. But it is also a very controversial thing. It's because social media has done so much for us. Like, for my own ability to be able to communicate my thoughts to the people of Zambia, we have done it through social media. You can see it from the years that I joined. And I think I attribute much of my ability to communicate to our people here to social media. But also it's a little bit of an issue, because I read that somebody had written that I was going to sue Harry Kalava. I also no. So a person has the ability to actually create a story and post it, and people actually and believe it that I said it.
You had no doing in that.
No. Why would I sue Harry Kalava? Mr. Kalava is a very good man. He was one of my parishioners when I was a very, very young preacher, and we share a very good relationship. But I know that his party has written our ministry seeking my dismissal as ambassador. But I have never said that I'm going. I think so. But I have never said that I'm going to sue him, because I shouldn't do that. I shouldn't sue Mr. Harry Kalava.
Ladies and gentlemen, another truth untold here on The Insider.
Right. I never said I would sue him. He's a very good guy. We relate to each other very well. But of course, if you may wish to know, he is a former foreign minister whom history may have forgotten. And so his party, not just himself, but his party may be wanting to receive a little bit of relevance by attacking one of the ambassadors.
Yes.
And I think I may be at the brunt of it, but it's okay. Because if history forgets you, you may wish to be remembered. And so I really have no issues with him. He's written our ministry has done its due diligence, and they've found that the political hit job was whatever it was. But this government is a government that stands by its people. And this government stands by the little children in Chuempala, little children in Milenge, little children in Mongu, and it certainly stands by the people that are serving.
Indeed. Dr. Elias Munshya, Zambia's High Commissioner to Angola. Thank you very much for your time and sharing your valuable insights, both from a diplomatic and governance perspective.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for joining us on The Insider today, where we tell the untold.